Hey everyone, I just wanted to hop on here real quick and give you a heads up that the Weekend Warrior Club membership on Patreon is closing its doors to new members. And the very last day that you can sign up will be Wednesday, September 10th. That's right. You have until Wednesday, September 10th to sign up as a Weekend Warrior Club member on Patreon. After that, I am shutting down my doors to any new members until further notice. That's right. I'm shutting down my doors until further notice. At some point, I will be opening it back up to the public, but it'll be at a higher rate. Everyone that signs up between now and September 10th will be grandfathered in indefinitely as long as you hold the club membership at $6 a month. And for $6 a month, you get 5% off your orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off your orders to Catoctin Creek Rods, 10% off your orders to Tiger Crankbaits, ad-free episodes of the show, members-only content, members giveaways, our private Facebook group community, and of course, our fishing tournaments that are backed by the Fishing the DMV podcast, our sponsors, and myself included. Tournaments such as the Sizzling Summer Showdown, Frostbite Frenzy, and so many more fun events that we have here that I promote for you guys. You have until September 10th to sign up, and then I'm shutting down access or entry to our club until further notice. At some point in 2026 or 2027, I will open it back up again, but it'll be at a much higher rate. Link in the episode description down below. Thank you so much. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today I have on a guest, long time coming. We're talking all things about owning a small business, content creation, snakeheads, and so much more. Andrew Blair of the Tactical Fishing Company. Sir, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, huge fan of the show. You know, I have a lot of friends that both have contributed to the show, been on the show, and I'm a listener, so I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's crazy when I started this and you talk about, I try to really stay to the grassroots and let the people have a platform. And then you realize like how many good anglers and fun stories there are that it's like somebody like you would be like, hey, you should have this guy on. And I say, oh, I never heard of him. And I have him on. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's just, there's so many people in our community that nationally people don't know of.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, from your demographic of, you know, the region you're in, there's a lot of diversity in both the fishing, but also the tournament series, right? Because you got the Snakehead aspect. That's an up and coming big controversy sport fish, right? And, you know, there's a lot of anglers in that side of the house that have some good knowledge that, you know, people need to hear about. It's cool.
Have you always wanted to be a influencer slash business owner slash angler? Like it's a cool story you have. Like, how did this all start?
So I was in the Army. So, you know, around that, you know, when Milliken first got started and YouTube fishing became really cool, I was like, you know, I could get a camera and I'm traveling the world, right, in the Army. So let's start recording it. And, you know, I went from just wanting to record catches and, you know, try to have my stab at it to then getting into soft plastics and things of that nature during COVID, like most bait makers did. And it just sort of evolved into, hey, I really like doing this. This is fun. I think I got a shot at it. I like talking on camera, and, you know, it's a good way to build a network and a community. And the more friends I met through it, it just kind of fuels it. We all kind of motivate each other, share tips. And when you see growth, you don't stop. So
when was your first, I don't want to say your first video, because that like sometimes can be like a huge gap between your first video and when you're like, I'm going to start chopping wood and kind of try to put it out consistently. Do you have a remembrance of that time frame?
That was around 2022.
Okay.
So I had always put out content, you know, here or there, wherever. And there was a certain time frame when I was just like, you know, I need to separate, kind of do my own content, right? I like to separate my personal business, my business content and my personal content. And I think they drive each other very well. And right around that time, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to make my own content that's not so biased, right? Because most people don't want to follow someone that's trying to just sell a product, right? So, and I fish. So 2022, I really started building my own personal channels. And in turn, it taught me a lot about how to run content from a business side, right? Because I'm learning what creators should be doing. and what audiences like, and I translate that over. So once we saw that growth, that first year of really hammering down, that was it. I was like, you know what? I think we found our community, our niche, and let's just drive with it. So, it's been a fun 3 years of learning.
3 years, damn, wow.
Yeah. So it really was I decided to let's take this serious about 3 years ago. So, I always made the short form content, post my catches, post my pictures, but really studying what makes good content for my audience was about 3 years. So it's been good growth. It's been a lot of learning, but it's a lot of work. So it's fun. I enjoy it.
Did you ever I personally went through this with, oh God, what's the psychological term? Imposter syndrome, where you get all these views and people start talking to you and it's like, this is really weird. Did you ever have that moment when, I believe you started on TikTok, correct?
Yeah, it was TikTok. TikTok to me was easier to communicate with people because people engage more on that platform, I find. So you're not trying to be something you're not, right? I always tell people I catch baby fish. I post the fails, I post the mistakes because that's what I like doing, right? So TikTok, that's a lot more accepting because there's a lot of newer anglers on that platform. So for me, it was more about being able to relate to those people, more people that are fishing on the weekends, right? Getting out once or twice a month, asking for beginner tips that I don't feel like I have to be a professional angler to give, right? And then that just translated over. Instagram to me was a little more professional. If you're not catching big fish or wearing a bikini, you're not getting likes and engagement. So it was
you're not wrong.
Yeah. So I mean, TikTok for me is where I started and kind of gave me the confidence to talk on camera on these other platforms, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Did you always have in mind, and I'm sorry I didn't ask this earlier, to have the bait company? Did that idea come before or after the social media really started to take off?
So, fun fact, tactical fishing started as the social media.
Oh, cool.
So the person I started TFC with, we acronym it out, TFC, is actually a friend of mine that was one of my soldiers in the Army. His name is Alex Debo, and him and I wanted to create a YouTube channel. We watched Tactical Bassin, we watched all these guys, and we were like, we could do this, man. Like, let's do it. So made the logo one night at work, and Tactical Fishing was the YouTube. Brought another coworker in. Didn't work out, unfortunately, but I started branching it off once I started making baits and selling the plastics. Okay, this is something I like doing. Let's make this the brand, and then let's rebrand the personalized content, right? My personal fishing is Andrew Blair Fishing. So, okay,
gotcha.
Yeah, it was a segue once, because I'm unfiltered on camera sometimes, not professional, but I say what I believe. So I didn't want that associated directly with my brand, right? Because it's a brand. But me personally, I created my own channels to be able to do that and voice my opinion. So
that's wild.
Yeah.
What was your first bait design?
My creature bait. And I have my little box here, our bomber bug. So I'm a creature bait fanatic, and everybody in fishing say, oh man, I wish these two baits had a baby. So the first thing when I started making plastics, you notice as you get more followers, you get copied, right? They have access to these molds. They can buy them on Google, all the mold websites, right? So people started acquiring these molds, and basically we're posting the same style content, selling the same colors. And I was like, you know what? We need to design something that's ours, right? And creature bait was the first one. So big flipping punching bug, throw it on jig. Not a lot of crazy leg action, but that's how I like it. And that's where we started. And we're 8 molds in now. And it's a process that's more addicting than the bait making and everything now. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of friends that help us out with it across the country. So
whether it's content creation or bait design, there's something about that artistic outlet that is it fills a void in you. It's really, I don't know how to describe it unless you're in it. But it's very satisfying, whether you have one person that view or one person that buy, just to be able to go from sketching to getting the mold and just getting that whole process done. How long, generically speaking, is it for you to go from idea to we're going to make this work?
So, like I've said before, it always starts with a problem. Like, what void do you have? You have to solve a certain problem. If it's a gap in a product, or you need a specific action on a specific bait, right? Let's take a chatterbait, for example. Our most popular bait is our minnow ready to eat. It's an MRE. And this was actually a Ned rig bait. When I was up in Maryland, I was in Frederick. So I fished the Potomac a lot for smallmouth, and a lot of the craws were getting destroyed. So we had a problem where we needed a crawfish style bait to go on a finesse or a Ned that still held some sort of an action with the flanged tails. So, we started drawing out our MRE. This is a jackhammer, and we came out with our solution here. And so it always starts with that. Sketching, it takes me, depends how badly I want it, right? Because I like fishing. So sketching, I draw full scale, takes about a day or two, and then we get our measurements in. I got to micrometer it. I have a mold guy I work with in Texas because I don't have CNC machinery here. CAD, depending on how much I bug them, takes about a day or two. Test mold, we always get a 2-cavity test mold so I can shoot the bait, make sure it works, send it out to our team, and we fish it. And, from start to finish, generally about a month. A month or two, depending on different diameters, right? Like if the bait's not going to sit on a shaky head, right? And it's a shaky head bait. If it rips off, we have to change diameters, cut a new mold. And then it just comes down to your colors. You pick your colors. That takes me no time to run them. And, we generally like to wait a month or two before we release something, unless it's a plus size of a bait we already have and we know it's going to work. That's the one exception. Or if it's a dire need. If we collaborate with another brand and they want us to draw a bait to work with their specific lure, we'll get that pushed out quicker to accommodate them. But it's pretty quick. I mean, honestly, compared to like you see these big brands taking a year to drop product, they're making hundreds of thousands of bags of plastics, whereas I'm making like a few hundred to release a bait, right? So from drawing to in your hands and fishing, it can take up to about 2 months. That's what we like to do.
Wow, that is wild, man. That is so cool. You mentioned, I believe you said you were from originally Frederick, Maryland, which is crazy. I'm in Hagerstown. Were you here, I guess, at the beginning, really, of the Snakehead revolution from the anglers side of things? Is that safe to say?
So I was in the Army when Snakehead started becoming, Steve Cambo Trout. I know everybody that watches the show probably knows Cambo. Steve was actually one of the first ones I reached out to kind of learn them, right? I had moved. I was down at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Came back to Maryland. I'm originally from the Columbia area. That's where I grew up, went to high school, all that stuff. So we got stationed out in Frederick. There's not a ton of snakehead out there. So, a few of us were like, oh, this is a bucket list fish. We were bass fishing and smallmouth fishing, targeting pike at Tridelphia, things like that for fun. And, right around 2019, 2020 is when we really started diving into them. And, it was a lot more docile back then, right? Like Blackwater was one of the key places to go. And now you have these powerhouse Upper Bay, Virginia fisheries that are taking over. Those weren't really the go-to back then. It was, you go to Blackwater, Baltimore, tributaries of the Chesapeake Bay, those were the target areas. Mariner Point Park, Dundee Creek Marina, the Potomac, those kind of areas were popular, but it has taken off astronomically in the past 2-3 years. And I've been happy to be a part of that. You know what I mean? Just see the evolution of it. So
would you say that where do you think you're better known for as not just not just your social media brand, but also like your company? Would it be the snakehead realm or the bass fishing realm? Like what would you describe it as? It's
leveling off now. I would say our hollow body frogs are what we're known for more than anything. Mm-hmm. I would say hands down. The ones that really people know us for, like the Dragon Pop or small popper, works phenomenal for bass. Obviously, I use TikTok as a fuelant to project these products onto the bass market. Through Maryland, we're known for snakehead. outside of that, we're starting to get known for our frogs for bass, right? I try to split them for growth. I want the plastics to do what they're going to do in the bass fishing scene, because as a brand, bass will project you higher than snakehead will right now. But we have a lot of thought and input into the snakehead scene still with the design of the frogs. We still have guys up there that help me design them. I still come up and, we test product. So I think it's pretty evenly split. And it's purposely done that way because I want the two avenues to grow and then mesh eventually when the time is right. Bass fishermen are scared of that are not used to snakehead. They're scared of that. Mm-hmm. So if I project too much snakehead in the bass fishing scene that doesn't understand the dynamic up in the DMV right now, they tend to backpedal a little bit from the brand as a whole. So we're gonna try to segue that, educate, teach, not show anything inappropriate with the fish. I don't like showing people killing species of fish on camera, right? I think that's not for children's eyes. We try to do it that way, try to balance it.
It's tough. It really is, because like I said, again, I have a let's just say call it a recency bias because I live in Snakehead, like Nirvana, and it is interesting to see the tribe and how much it's exploding, which is it's fascinating to me because you have other tribes of fish, catfish anglers, musky anglers, stuff like that, but that Snakehead core, it just seems like every year it's growing more and more steady. And I don't know if it's the macabre curiosity of it all, or if it is just truly this homegrown passion. I like to tend to think it's that. But yeah, man, it is crazy how that's such a divisive community.
Yeah, I have, there's bad apples to everything, right? So you obviously have segmented groups that in every fish, right? Let's look at kayak bass fishing. Let's look at all these other species. I think snakehead, in my opinion, is easier for people to get started in fishing only because a lot of the times they're targeting them with hollow body frogs, right? With top water lures. And you don't need anything really fancy. You need a good heavy rod, a good reel with high drag, a sturdy frog, and to get into these nooks and crannies that they like to live, right? As opposed to like being a new angler joining the bass scene. There's so much information and techniques out there and brand bias, right? Like it can seem overwhelming. So in that area, the DMV, if you mean to tell me there's a big, fun, aggressive fish to go after that happens to taste phenomenal, and you just need to go find grass or vegetation, and you can be on a very basic kayak with a rod or two and a frog, to me, that's easier to get started with, especially because they are fun, right? Like I think topwater fishing, I'm biased. That is my favorite form of fishing anywhere. And for how aggressive they are and how fun they are, I think the appeal is there, especially if you live in that area. And the community that they built is a whole bunch of people that are enjoying something that others can't, right? And they want to defend that. When you have these videos of people from across the country saying, oh, kill it, it's invasive. It's no different than a flathead or a blue cat, and you see the impact of them up on the bay. Mm-hmm. But they're celebrated fish across the country, right? Content creators are having millions of followers, catching blue cats in the Potomac, and people are applauding them. But if you catch a snakehead, you're chastised. So that community has stuck together pretty hard on defending that. Hey, you don't know about the species. They've been here a quarter of a century. That's a lot of time to gauge and see the impact. It makes them tighter knit for sure. I've seen everybody like stick together when someone comments wrong about the species, uneducated, right? It's the biggest thing.
It's for sure. It is a fascinating case study. I know I've had Kimbo on before, guys. I'll have him on again here soon, just to talk about just the state of it up in the Maryland area. For people that are trying to get into snakehead fishing, I mean, what is the best bait that they could get from you to really kind of break in and catch their first snake?
So, I mean, I'll drop product, but realistically, smaller style frogs, right? Like a lot of the times, and now that's such a loaded question because you can hit them subsurface, right? Like a chatterbait will catch any species of fish, right? but bycatch, you're gonna be able to catch bass and all these other things too. Our smaller popper, the Dragon Pop, or our Pad Slasher are my two favorite for getting started. Right, smaller bodies, they're a little more durable than your standard Spro. Right, they're made with a material that we cannot produce here, but it is a very, very durable material. Smaller frogs, right? Snakeheads generally, because the vortex, when they suck in a lure, they tend to throat it a little easier. But you cannot go wrong with a swim bait, a chatterbait, or a frog, right? Those are the three things or a swim toad, right? We have our tack toad. It's a 3.6-inch buzzbait style frog, but we swim these on swim bait hooks, 4-aught swim bait hooks, and you can swim these through hydrilla, through pad stalks, burn them on top like a horny toad, or if you like buzz baits, they're made to fit on the back of your favorite buzz bait. So,
oh, cool.
Really the toad, a frog, a swim bait, that's what most people are catching them on. My first snakehead came on a chatterbait, right? Because I'm just fishing open water, fishing pad lines, exploring like same way I fish for bass. Fishing near timber, vegetation, something they can relate to cover. Frogs, you get into technique, and snakehead are different. So watch Cambo Trout's videos. That's how a lot of people learn. But yeah, paddle tail, swim frog, hollow body frog, chatterbait, same generic principles that you'd use to target bass in the Potomac area, right near vegetation. So,
and just go full like 30 to 50 pound braid, flip and stick. Is that usually the vibe?
I'm a little different when it comes to my moving baits. I do like a medium heavy. I do think having a softer backbone is beneficial in certain scenarios. But you cannot go wrong with a 7-foot to 7'3" heavy, right? With 50 pound, I go 50 pound braid for frogging. I don't see a need for ropey 65 pound, depending on the diameter braid, right? And then 30 pound for moving baits. That would pretty much cover you. Drag reels, a lot of people like the deadbolts from Cast King. I personally like to stick to the arcs for my plastics, 15 pound drag range, right? And then you move into your loos, anything in the 18 to 20 pound drag rating for hydrilla, pads, and frogging as a whole, just to drive the barbs through the top of their mouth a little easier.
Do you need to do a delayed hook set or anything with them?
I don't do a count. A lot of people do the counting, right? And for me, a lot of the reason, and this is just for our brand, why we have specific colored lures like reds and pinks, it's a visual thing, right? So you hear the pop. Most of the time you're bomb casting onto a grass mat, okay? And they are very smart fish. So you will spook them if you get close. That's why a lot of these further casting reels are almost a necessity when you're trying to find some of the older big fish, right? And when I hear a pop, I look for the frog. And how hard is it to look for a frog on a grass mat if it's black, right? Black frogs catch fish, brown frogs catch fish, but I can see a red frog or a pink frog a lot easier than I can any of these darker colors on the color grass mat that you're fishing. So hear the pop. Is the frog back up on top of the water? Nope. All right, reel down a little bit on my drag or on my spool. Yep, I see line is taken. Now I go. It's not that slow of a process, but if I don't see this frog come up, I know generally he has it in his mouth and it's go time. So for new anglers looking to target snakehead, visual. Not saying this is a good frog out there, but pick your colors wisely that you can see. It will help you start to learn the timing of when the pop needs to correlate to your hook set. That's the biggest tip I have on color and timing.
When do you like to go with a blade versus non-blade? Because I saw the one that you just put up there, and that's fascinating.
So we add blades to a lot of things. Honestly, what we've found is a lot of these stagnant fish that don't want to commit to a frog, you have current or other conditions that will cause this blade to flicker, and it kind of triggers that initiative for the fish to eat. Now this bait itself walks. We incorporated like a Kevlar loop knot, right? And I cut this off my rod because I use this one.
Oh, cool.
And it does its own little wobble. This blade does clank against the weight on the bottom. and a lot of the snakehead brands, not just my own, they do a blade because when you steady reel it, it creates a little bubble trail behind it, right? Not as loud as a buzzbait, but we have found, and we add them to our popper as well. We modify our own for fun. We'll see a difference in bites. If the snakeheads come up to it and they're not willing to commit, give it a little twitch and it has a flasher on it. Generally, that blade triggers them. And there are times that they don't like the flash. So the blades are both for sound and for some extra flash to get their attention.
That's really, really cool. Did you come up with that design with the braid twist at the front? Like what was the epiphany there?
There are other brands that do it. So our first two frogs we ever drew, because I did draw our frogs, right? We get them from Indonesia like most snakehead guys because we can't get this material here. Difference is, so this one here was one of our first. We drew this. It did not have the blade. It did not have the rope tie, right? And we just wanted a single skirt, lizard style, smaller presentation walking bait. We discontinued it to add the loop knot to help it walk on its own. And then we added the blade just because we needed a bladed option off the shelf, right? We had another bladed frog. The hook gap wasn't as good because the weight was internal. You can see on a small frog, that's a pretty stout hook gap. And then our popper was the other one that we drew originally. It's a little bigger than this, but we wanted to downsize it. This is actually, I use this for smallmouth a lot too. And Jake Harsman will tell you about this frog. He demolishes them on the Susky with this guy. But we went with a smaller size popper, right? It still has a stunted lip, so it comes over grass really well. So we drag this on grass mats, leave it in holes, pop it. The bass demolish it. I use it down here in South Carolina. That's probably our most popular, hands down. The Dragon Pop is our most popular frog that we have. It has been for 3-4 years now. So
that's crazy. And then, guys, as always, link in the episode description to website and everything like that, so you can go check out all the bait designs. You mentioned Indonesia. That's where you got it from. Is that where you get the material from? The idea? What is it about Indonesia?
So I'll explain how, and this may upset. I don't care. This may upset people, but this is the process on how a lot of snakehead brands get their frogs, right? So there are frog makers overseas. A lot of people know that now. And they see a design they like, they buy it, right? And generally they get exclusive rights to sell that design. When we started, I wanted my own unique thing. So we found somebody, I drew up some stuff for them and said, hey, can you make this? And they hand dip them, they sculpt, they either 3D print or sculpt the masters, right? And then they dip them and they create them. Now for us, we do pick the hooks. We do pick our patterns, our colors. Like this round, we wanted a mouse appearance on our B2. This is our heavier skirted frog, right? So I say, hey, we're going to paint it this way. Let's do it this. Let's beef up our hooks. Let's add line ties and shrink wrap to the nose to prevent it from sliding. So ours, at least, we get customized 100% how we want. We do limited batch colors as well if we so choose. But yeah, we cannot get the raw material in the United States. And it is a very durable, almost self-healing plastic, right? Like a latex. Can't get it here. If we did, I'd probably make them in-house like the plastics, right? We've tried. But yeah, we have these crafted overseas, not in a big factory. It's one guy like me, like a normal bait maker over there. He's exclusive to me. We've been partners for 4 years now, and it's fun. We can draw anything, get anything made. We have 2 more that are coming out potentially this year.
Oh wow,
but
that's so cool.
We gotta test them out.
Is that the area of the world where snakehead fishing first got hold to?
So there's a lot of different species of snakeheads, and geographically speaking, South Korea is a big one for the northern snakehead, right? That's where they're most predominant. They have smaller species of snakehead in Indonesia. I'm not a fisheries biologist, so I can't give you the names of them, but that's why a lot of the frogs you see are smaller in nature off the shelf from them, because they are smaller species of snakehead.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now we have adopted the smaller frogs because most people just order the frogs, right? So they're in turn getting a smaller this is 2.2 inches, right? And this is 8 grams. So it is small. Now I wanted a bigger version, so we had a 2.5-inch frog made, right? And the bass fishing scene, generally 2.5 to 3 inches is a big standard frog, right? But we adopted this smaller lure mentality because these makers are creating frogs for their species of snakehead, which in turn are very small. And the Northerns absolutely love it, and so do the bullseyes down in Florida. So most of the time, small is what most people use here, and that's why you see snakehead frogs that are very, very tiny.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yep. So
that's wild. Yeah, I've it's always been interesting to see the cultural differences, like what you just said, like South Korea being a hub for snakehead fishing, but over here it's still catching on, and how different cultures perceive these different fish and importance, that's fascinating. We get kind of, I don't know, egotistical is the wrong word, but very about certain things over here when it comes to bass versus other species, let's just say. So that is wild, man. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, look, and this is what I try to advocate, because as you grow up, you get a lot of people that hate on your comments, right? With Snakehead, and I can't tell you how many videos I've had where people they don't do any research prior, right? And let's look at largemouth bass as a fish in the United States. Now, I hate when people go on social media and say, oh, largemouth are invasive. No, they're not classified invasive. Invasive is a very technical term, right? What qualifies them to be invasive. But they are not native to the Chesapeake Bay area, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously, money drives a lot of decisions, and people bring these fish in because it is an economical boost with the tournaments and the tackle. And right now, let's take that and let's go to Japan real quick. What are largemouth bass over there right now?
Yeah, a major, well, as they would label it, a big threat that they need to eliminate.
And it's like our snakehead here, right? So, I mean, this is just me, and I'm not Dr. John Odenkirk. I'm not Cambo, right? Doing this research, but I'm a consumer of snakehead. I've eaten them, and I have never gut sampled one and found anything that remotely looked like difference of baby carp, catfish, things like that, right? Crawfish, same forage that bass are eating. But in turn, I've seen bass just get fatter and gorge, right? So they do have a stimulus to our fisheries, right? Potomac River bass are getting fatter, right? Like look at the tournaments they've just done here, mm-hmm. right? I think a lot of the media drive and labeling of the species is what is scaring the rest of the country. They're not here seeing they're not in South Carolina yet. They're not there to see the difference and how these fish interact, with each other. And we try to teach that. Steve does a very good job of it. I ignore a lot of comments now because you could tell when someone just doesn't want to have an educated conversation. They just, let's mash this keyboard, right? That's
the bigger you get, the more I like Joe Rogan mentioned on, like, he likes to post and ghost and just don't even ever read the comment sections. And he said mentally he's healthier. And yep. I'm now trying to gauge at what time in my career on social media I'm going to try to probably take on that of, like, it's healthier just to post it, don't engage. I don't know. Whole other conversation.
Anything snakehead.
Yeah,
I post and ghost snakehead stuff now. It's funny you say that, because I used to try to justify. I don't want anybody to feel that content is harmful by nature, right? Like, mm-hmm. that is a creator that I focus on, right? There are some creators that do that. They want, the hate mail engagement, right? But I started ignoring it. You have hundreds of people and you build a community, right? I have a lot of friends that will chime in and they'll do the work. They'll go in there and they'll drop the research. Because they're bored and they want to do that. But yeah, anything snakehead, drop a video, leave it alone. Just walk away, because you'll get your friends locally that say, oh, that's a nice fish. And then the hate mail comes in and you're like, I'm out.
What was the biggest, cultural change, everything when you made the jump from Maryland area where I'm at to South Carolina? Was there an adjustment mentally, not only in the fishing, but also about the baits you were going to design?
Yes. So, there wasn't a huge transition right off the gate. I fish fast. I enjoy fishing thick vegetation. And a lot of that translated very well to here. especially in their fall and winter months. Okay, a lot of people are slowing down, and I was fishing fast, catching buzzbait fish on Christmas Eve, right? And that to me was an easy transition. Let's continue to fish the way we fish the Potomac, right? Aquia Creek and stuff like that. Let's do that here, because the fishery as a whole, if you look at it, it looks the same. You still have really tall hydrilla. It's not tidal, but a lot of the conditions are very similar, right? So I just tried to relate the techniques I did in Maryland to here, and it worked. And now bait design, I never fished big mag speedworms. I didn't fish that style stuff. So it did have to change, right? The main bait that we designed when we moved here was our 7-inch speedworm.
Oh, wow.
And I never fished a mag speedworm. If I did, it was a Zoom speedworm. And we moved down here, met some friends down here, and this was almost a necessity. And now it is tied on every trip. And there's just, the fish down here, they are a little bit bigger bass, right? And they're going after these big worm presentations. You can burn them on grass, and they fish like this. Josh Evans, if you know Josh, he fishes a speedworm on the Potomac, same style, through pads, through grass, drop them on a Texas rig. You can punch them. You can burn them as a topwater because the tail slaps the top of the water. So this is like a jack of all trades bait in the South. It does work up north, but I never really fished them like that. Buzz baits, I never touched buzz baits in Maryland. I was always poppers, whopper ploppers, and hollow body frogs, right? You move here, and the conditions with all the cypress knees and the stumps here, it was almost, you got to have that buzz bait, search bait.
Interesting.
So that's a technique I picked up. That was a personal goal to learn to buzz bait fish better. And that ended up driving the creation of this tote here. We worked with Brazalo Custom Lures, if you're familiar with him, to design this frog to be swam on a weighted swim bait hook, but also be a really good buzz bait trailer for his specific buzz baits here. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, this is the Pat Schlapper Bushwhacker. This one helped a Bassmaster Elite check get cash. So, a lot of the designs we collaborate with, right? But some of the styles are very similar with how I choose to fish down here. So
that is so cool. Like, yeah, because you think about, if you're going to invent a bait, you have things in your brain, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. So it's fascinating as an artist, is what you basically are, to go from Maryland and those conditions that subconsciously affect what you're thinking you're going to create, to, like you said, you went to cypress swamps and stumps, and then all of a sudden it's like everything, like you could almost look at your designs and can probably tell when you made the shift down south, which is kind of
cool.
Yeah,
100%. Like and there's a lot of baits that were in the pipe when I was moving that, like our craw. I mean, our craw was drawn for smaller jigs, right? And nets. And it's a smaller 3.5 inch craw. It still fits perfect on the back of a jig, but for me, that wasn't the use of this bait. So when we moved here, this mold was being drawn. I ended up flanging out some things differently to accommodate how I'm going to fish it here, which is a lot more jigs. I'm fishing a lot more jigs and swim jigs down here than I ever did up in Maryland. And our paddle tail, we had an older version of it, but I wanted a more tube shape. This is a Battle Baits swim jig, my favorite swim jig on the market. And we went with a tube shaped tail. If you can see, it's rounded, has good roll, but I'm right down the street from redfish and inshore. So we had to kind of blend this, right? Like, as I learned to inshore fish, I want some of the molds to translate, and our paddle tail is definitely one. This is on an owner inshore swim bait head. So try to dual hat it, right? Like, you don't want to be limited to just the bass brand.
That's smart.
You want it to translate to a whole bunch of different things. Kind of like what Sixth Sense is doing right now. You see Sixth Sense moving into the salt domain. I don't have the money they do. So when I design stuff, if it's a paddle tail or a fluke, I need it to translate to more than one thing, so I can go catch redfish on it and trout and flounder. I can take it up and snakehead fish with it, or I can fish it for bass, and I can market it all three ways through the content and see which avenue hits.
And This part here, you don't have to answer it, but do you have an idea of, is there other categories or genres of baits that you would like to get into someday?
Salt. Hands
Salt.
down. Yeah, so where I'm at right now in South Carolina, I'm 10 miles south of Santee Cooper, right? And I'm 10 miles west of Charleston.
Oof, wow.
So I can go right down the street, launch, and catch redfish. I can go north, and I can catch 7 to 8 pound bass. So I'm in that weird, and then I can go 45 minutes west and fish the Congaree and Saluda and catch smallmouth, right? So I'm in this weird little bubble where I can pick what I want. I'm a novice saltwater angler. That's on my list to learn. Have a lot of good friends that are teaching me the gear, the techniques. I have the profiles. I just need the colors, right? And I got a Z-Man in my back door. I can always, look at their colors and kind of get some inspiration. So salt is the next.
Culturally, how big is inshore fishing compared to bass fishing down there?
Huge. So there's a few kayak clubs here. Santee Monster Kayak Anglers is the bass club that I'm a part of, that I fish their tournaments in. We have Low Country Kayak Anglers, LKA, they specialize in salt. And we do collaborative stuff, but because of where we're at, it's kind of 50-50. A lot of the bass guys cross over to salt when it's 100 degrees out like today, and vice versa. So, it's an interesting dynamic. They all participate in each other's clubs, but you find, you got the Charleston anglers, right, that are heavy Z-Man, heavy saltwater inshore, love going out for reds, but then you got the guys that are sticking to Lake Marion and Lake Moultrie, Santee, fishing for largemouth bass, because it is a powerhouse lake right in the backyard. So it's cool. You learn a lot here. A lot of different styles of fishing. It's just, you can really pick your poison on any day and go out and catch whatever. It's really cool. I miss Maryland a lot. I tell my friends that I still talk to everybody up there. It's right in my back door now. I'm not in Frederick. I don't have to drive 2 hours to get somewhere, hour and a half. It's right here. So it's different, but it's fun.
I mean, you definitely have so many options now available to you, especially in the saltwater genre with where you're living now. But you're also, I believe you said that you'll be coming up here for a snakehead tournament, correct?
Yeah, so East Coast snakehead fishing like VKAE. VKAE is more of a club-centric trail, right? Same day, same location events. So ECSF, one of my buddies, ZMRC Fishing, Richie, founded it. He had a kid, so we kind of helped take it over a little bit. It is a 5-state, photo submission event, right? The championship round is this coming Saturday, and it is a random draw, single location event. The top 10 anglers get to vote their fishery that they want it to be hosted at. That it gets drawn 2 days prior to limit the amount of pre-fishing people can do, right? And then everybody shows up and fishes it. And that's coming on Saturday this week, or next week. So.
And then, guys, I know that, so this is, of course, as always, pre-recorded, and this episode's not going to drop till September. So with that said, a little bit more wiggle room here. Do you have an idea of what body of water you want to start at? Has that been disclosed to the public yet?
So every angler in the top 10 is allowed to submit their fishery of choice, right?
Okay,
so essentially, you'll have 10 spots. Most of them generally pick the same. And now, if this is in September, there's a few in Maryland, there's a few in Virginia that people voted on. And because I'm driving up to fish, I would prefer to stay in the Virginia area. It's just, of the ones I've seen that are in Maryland, those aren't really fisheries I would prefer to travel to fish, right? If this is a vacation, a long drive, I want to fish the most impactful waters that I can, and I think the Potomac is that right now. Just, there's also a Chesapeake Reel Masters Bass event that Saturday as well. So if they vote Aquia Creek, I'll be jumping in and fish that, and I guess people will know if that happened when this releases. But it'd be cool to double tap, fish with a few friends in a bass event, and then also fish for snakehead too. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on that, because I think Maryland, rightfully so, gets a lot of the limelight when it comes to snakehead fishing. But I feel like Virginia is slowly crawling up that, because no one talks about it, but there's so many waterways now that have snakes in it that aren't getting the same pressure. Because if you guys don't know, since I'm on the Black Bass Advisory Board for Maryland, they get a lot of money to promote removing snakeheads in Maryland. So there's so much media attention there. Whereas Virginia, it's not the same amount. So I don't know if it's the fishing's better or if it's just under pressured compared to Maryland waters. But take that with what you will.
Yeah, I won't drop specific bodies, but what I've seen, Virginia is a very good location. I think the dynamic of where the snakehead are in Maryland and the upper Chesapeake Bay is loaded, right? There, you've seen some monster fish come out of there, whether it be from the bow fishing scene, because you can scout the quality of fish, right, from looking at the bow fishing posts of what they're taking out, right? And generally, they're not shy on showing a landing or a launch. So we talk about it, right? Like the Upper Bay produces big fish. The Eastern Shore still has a good variety of fish, but not the size we're looking for, right? Like a lot of people go out there for these tournaments and to catch big fish.
Yeah. And
we're not seeing the size. Virginia is producing, you see VKE numbers, right? If you follow the trail, you see what people are pulling out of there. It's a good spot. And I think you're right. Maryland does get a lot of the hate in the limelight, right? And that's funded. But Virginia is a very good spot to fish as a whole, that upper Virginia area.
Yeah, and that's something, guys, I need to get another biologist on to talk to this, because I've always wondered. I had the invasive species guy from Maryland on a week or two ago talking about that, but a Virginia guy, because I don't see why snakes in theory wouldn't spread to every tributary on the Chesapeake Bay. So that would be all the way down to like the York River, the James, and all the way down. I don't know if they would ever get down to South Carolina. I don't know how that would work there, but I allegedly heard the Great Dismal Swamp might have some too from rumor mills. Like, I don't know how that range would work with them, but it's crazy because I don't think you can get rid of them. Like, I do think I talked to Steve. I think they're intelligent. Like, I don't know if it's like how you gauge their intelligence, but they're starting to learn where they're getting shot at with bow fishermen and where they're getting pressured. And I think they're learning to kind of dip and dive away from people.
Yeah, and again, I don't know their behavioral.
Yeah.
We're not a snakehead either. So,
That's true.
But we have seen habits and them not relating to certain cover in certain times of year. Right, because of fishing pressure, colors, profiles, techniques. I think they are very intelligent, especially when you fish for them and you see how you'll have little rovers that come up and just scout and see what you are. Like, if you just sit and watch the water, you'll see it. Like, they'll come up, they're curious, they want to know what you are. I do think if they ever did make it here, and I tell this because we have bowfin all over the place. Like, there are some spots here that we do bowfin only events, and we'll catch 20 to 30 bowfin in a trip. There's only bowfin and gar, right? Old flooded tributaries from the Santee River, very small bass population, huge bowfin populations. We're catching 30 to 32 inch bowfin in Santee. This environment is very conducive to snakehead growth. Goose Creek Reservoir right down the road from me. Max depth in a hole is maybe 12 feet. The rest of it is 5 feet, right? Heavy vegetation. It's warm. There's a lot of tilapia and shad for them to feed on. There's not really any predators besides the one or two gators, and the gators don't even really go after them. They feed on the shad that the bass are feeding on. If they made it down here, they would thrive. I have heard that there were some in North Carolina, not confirmed. There is one waterway up in northern South Carolina that they did post. If you find this species of fish, kill it and report it to South Carolina DNR. But I can't confirm that either in terms of, I haven't seen one. But I think eventually they will. I think they will make it down here if it's, as the sport grows, people start to, transfer fish, or if they hit one big waterway, like the Mississippi or anything of that nature, I think it's game over. They're gonna spread. They're already, down in, I think they have confirmed in Mississippi, or was it Arkansas, Louisiana, that they're confirming them.
something about that Ohio River, Mississippi watershed that there was one scene. Yeah, the bowfin. I could even have a whole conversation about bowfin because that thing's a dinosaur that's basically kind of idiosyncrasies of a snakehead too.
Oh yeah,
that's so cool.
The first 3 months I moved here, that's all I targeted.
Oh really?
I have them in Maryland where I was fishing. I moved down here. I was given a spot or two to go kayak, and dude, it'd be on the water at 6:30, off by 11. You got 20 to 30 bowfin on a bump board. Like it's
so
insane. Cool. And you're throwing. They love micro baits, so Ned rigs, things like that. You're smallmouth fishing, like same techniques you do for smallmouth. You're catching these big bowfin. It was insane. And then I've never caught one on a hollow body frog. Never caught them on spinner baits, chatter baits.
That's weird.
But it's all plastics. Stick baits, Ned rigs. All the guys at bowfin fish tournaments down here are throwing small Nico craws on Ned rigs. Jigging them. It's different. So take your winter smallmouth fishing, come down here to one of the bowfin spots. We'll have a fun time. It's crazy.
Dude, that's so cool. Andrew, I mean, we've talked about so much stuff today. Is there anything else that I forgot to cover?
We talked snakehead content, baits. I think it's really cool that some of the bass centric shows, right? It's fishing the DMV, so it's all encompassing that. But for people that see this on my channels that are in South Carolina and wherever, check out some of these snakehead trails and follow them on Tourney X and Chaos, and obviously fishing the DMV, because I think a lot of the educated information will get out if we watch these shows and listen to the experts and not just assume. So that's just a note I'll put out there for people that are watching.
100% agree, guys. Yeah, and I'm trying to not only just cover bass, but branching out. As you guys know, I'm trying to do the Chesapeake Bay once a week, which is always sporty with some of those topics, and snakehead, crappie, all this stuff. Because it's not just bass anglers out here that buy tackle, that enjoy fishing. And Jose Wajebe, the Spanish fly, as a kid, I remember always he said a bent pole's a happy pole, and whether it's bowfin, snakehead, there's a lot of species you can target, especially with kayak fishing blowing up. You can get out there and have fun, and you don't have to just target the green fish. So, and then as always, guys, link in the episode description to everything. I'm going to be putting a link to all of his social media platforms, including Tactical Fishing Company as well. Sir, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. As always, guys, check out, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.